Barnaby Buttons was a go-getter, a real shark in a sensible tie. He loved sales more than he loved a good night's sleep, perhaps even more than his own dear, sweet mother. He'd have to run the numbers on that particular affection. His smile, it was permanently, unnervingly plastered on his face, a shiny, unshakable veneer of pure ambition, especially when things started to get decidedly peculiar. He was gunning for that Salesman of the Year plaque, you see. His job was simple, or so it seemed on the surface, door-to-door sales. His champion product, Everclean Stain Annihilator. It was a tough gig, most folks slammed doors. But Barnaby had a certain persuasive charm. A way of making you feel like you industrial-strength cleaner, like your life depended on its mysterious, potent formula. He could sell a freezer to a penguin, that one. And he did once. Don't ask. The promise of Everclean was whispered in hushed, reverent tones. It didn't just clean stains, it obliterated them from existence. Wine spills, grease marks, unidentified splatters on the linoleum. Absolutely anything, the brochure cheerfully declared in bold print. Anything at all, no questions asked, no residue left behind. A miracle in a bottle, or perhaps something a little more sinister. Barnaby preferred not to dwell on the or perhaps part. It wasn't good for the pitch, you understand. His dream wasn't just success, it was total sales domination. He envisioned the Salesman of the Year award, a golden plaque gleaming under the fluorescent office lights. His name, Barnaby Buttons, etched for all eternity, or at least until next year. He could almost taste the metallic tang of victory and the significantly larger bonus check that came with it. That plaque was his holy grail, his everything. Nothing and no one would stand in his way. Then one Tuesday, Mr. Silas Graves answered his door. Mr. Graves was tall, impossibly tall, and remarkably pale. He had a habit of not blinking, not ever. It was disconcerting. He dressed in old-fashioned, slightly dusty, dark suits, and he always bought Everclean in bulk, cases of it. Such a useful product, he'd say, his voice a dry rustle. Barnaby felt a tiny shiver, but the order size was magnificent. Cash. Always paid in crisp, slightly cold cash. "Wonderful stuff, your Everclean," Mr. Graves would hiss, a strange smile playing on his thin lips. A smile that never quite managed to reach his dark, sunken eyes. "It removes the most stubborn of stains, wouldn't you agree?" Barnaby would just nod enthusiastically, already calculating his commission. "The best on the market, Mr. Graves, absolutely the best." He tried not to think about what kind of stains Mr. Graves dealt with, stains requiring such industrial quantities of annihilator. It was better for his peace of mind and his sales figures. Barnaby's sales figures shot through the roof, then the stratosphere. He was quickly climbing the regional leaderboard, almost at the summit. He did his best to ignore the profound, bone-deep chill Mr. Graves gave him. The commission checks, after all, were wonderfully warm and comforting, but the requests started getting specific and more frequent. "More, Barnaby, I find myself needing much, much more," Graves would intone, "for intensive spring cleaning." It was the middle of November. Barnaby just smiled wider. "Of course, Mr. Graves, coming right up. He's just an eccentric old gentleman," Barnaby would tell himself, polishing his latest Salesman of the Month pin. A very clean, very wealthy, and very eccentric gentleman. That was it. But then the local newspapers started running peculiar stories. Alleyways scrubbed cleaner than a surgeon's operating theatre after unfortunate incidents. Too clean. Suspiciously, unnaturally clean, like they'd been ever cleaned. Barnaby hummed a little tune and folded the newspaper neatly away. Coincidences, he decided. Just a series of very profitable coincidences. He was sure of it, almost sure. Barnaby won Salesman of the Month again, and then Salesman of the Quarter. The coveted Salesman of the Year plaque felt almost within his grasp. His colleagues at Total Clean Solutions Inc. whispered in the break room. "That Graves fellow, he gives me the creeps, man," said Gary from Gadgets. "Buys enough cleaner to dissolve a small horse," muttered Susan from Sprays. Barnaby just smiled, adjusted his tie and buffed his mini-trophy. Their envy was almost as satisfying as the sales figures. Almost. One particularly dark and stormy evening, Barnaby made a delivery to Graves's imposing residence. The house loomed against the bruised twilight sky, every window a dark vacant eye. Rain lashed down, making the cobblestones slick and treacherous. Mr. Graves opened the door with a slow, deliberate creak. "Ah, Barnaby, I've been expecting you," he rasped, his form silhouetted. He was holding a shovel, a very, very clean shovel. Spotless, in fact. Gleaming unnaturally in the dim porch light, not a speck of dirt or anything else, just some enthusiastic gardening, Graves explained, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "The night-blooming roses are quite demanding this particular season, you see." He gestured vaguely towards a patch of thorny, menacing-looking bushes. "They require a great deal of Specialized feeding. Barnaby managed to laugh. It sounded like a strangled chicken. "Right, killer roses, eh, Mr. Graves? Good one." Mr. Graves just stared, his expression unreadable, unblinking. The silence stretched, taut and uncomfortable. As Barnaby carried in the heavy crates of Everclean, he noticed something in the shadowy hallway. A large, lumpy burlap sack tucked discreetly behind an ornate grandfather clock. It seemed to squirm. Just a little, a subtle, unsettling movement. "Oh, don't you mind Bartholomew," Mr. Graves said smoothly, following Barnaby's gaze. "He's just getting comfortable in his new accommodations." Barnaby nodded quickly, not wanting to know who or what Bartholomew was. Probably a very large, very lumpy and exceptionally messy pet. A pet that clearly necessitated gallons of Everclean stain annihilator. The big one. The order to end all orders. Mr. Graves was ecstatic. He'd requested enough Everclean to scrub a small, unfortunate town clean off the map. "Tonight's the night, Barnaby!" Graves cackled, rubbing his pale hands together. "The grand culmination!" Barnaby felt a genuine prickle of fear dance down his spine this time. This felt different, more intense, more final. But the commission! The glorious, record-breaking commission! It would guarantee him Salesman of the Year. He just had to make this one last delivery. What could possibly go wrong? Famous last thoughts. As Barnaby helped Mr. Graves unload the final crate into the gloomy, cobweb-draped porch, a bottle accidentally slipped. It wasn't Barnaby's fault, entirely. The crate was heavy. The potent Everclean splashed down onto the dusty planks near an old bolted cellar door. The wood sizzled, smoked, and then dissolved. Not entirely, but enough. Revealing something underneath, something unexpected, not blood, not bones, not anything remotely gruesome. Glitter, oceans of it, multicolored, shimmering, offensively cheerful glitter, and tiny, brightly painted ceramic hats. Mr. Graves sighed, a surprisingly human sound, tinged with resignation. "Oh dear," he said almost sheepishly, "it seems the secret is out." He unbolted the cellar door and gestured for Barnaby to follow. Down they went into a surprisingly well-lit, vast underground workshop. It was filled, wall to wall, with garden gnomes. Hundreds of them, gnomes fishing, gnomes sleeping, gnomes playing tiny accordions, all of them sparkling with an almost supernatural cleanliness. "I'm a competitive gnome polisher, Barnaby," Mr. Graves confessed, a proud smile finally reaching his eyes. "The annual International Gnome Gleam-Off is next week," he explained, beaming like a new father. "The glitter stains from last year's Fantasia category are murder to get off ordinary gnomes, you understand?" He patted a particularly shiny gnome holding a miniature pickaxe. "But you're Everclean. It's a veritable miracle worker, restores them to pristine condition." Barnaby stared. At the gnomes, at Mr. Graves, at the gallons of cleaner. Then a slow grin, his salesman's smile, spread across his face, genuine this time. "Well, Mr. Graves," he said smoothly, already thinking of his next pitch, "it sounds like you'll be needing our new Evershine protective gnome top coat then, won't you?" Catching. Salesman of the Year was in the bag.